This exercise is important just for debate, and you use debate all the time in your daily life, and so that's an essential skill that any young learner should be proud to develop.
This is Script in the afternoon. If you are just joining me, you are always in time. Whatever time you tune in is just in time. Now, the United Nations Information Center, in partnership with the British High Commission and World Health Organization, recently hosted the 11th annual Model United Nations Namibia High School Conference. Having said that, it is an absolute pleasure to have with us in studio this afternoon the British High Commissioner to Namibia, His Excellency Mr Charles Moore, to give us a rundown of this exciting program. Your Excellency, welcome back to 99 FM.
Thank you, Script. Thanks for having me.
Let's take a moment to just firstly tell our listeners, especially our youth who are tuned in right now, what exactly is Model UN and what does the program entail?
Sure. Well, you know, it's a really exciting program because everybody hears about the UN. You read about it in the newspapers every day. The UN is this big organization which governs the world, if you like. But what does it actually do? How does it do it? And Model UN is a program which brings the UN to youth so that they understand how it works. And, you know, as diplomats, I spent 4 years working in Geneva at the United Nations, representing the UK in various different fora. My deputy, Charlotte Fenton, she spent 4 years in New York at the United Nations there. And so, you know, we have a first-hand experience of how the UN works, what the sessions are like, and how it all hangs together. And it's really interesting to bring it to Namibia. I mean, we do Model UN in different countries as well, but in Namibia, it's a really useful way for educating the youth on what the UN is, what it does, and actually how to be young diplomats, because you know, you have to make your arguments in a very respectful way. You have to listen to other people's points of view, and this is how the UN works in reality. So it's about the youth having a better understanding of what the UN does, why it's important, and how they can simulate that environment.
Now, this is the third year in a row that this program is being supported by the British High Commission. Why are you involved personally, and what has your personal experience been at the conference?
Sure. Well, part of it is because, you know, I worked at the United Nations myself. It's a really interesting, although it can be sometimes deadly boring, lots and lots of discussions about lots of different issues, but it has a fundamental importance actually for all of us, I mean, for the entire world. And so I've always been keen since I arrived in January 21 to champion this program in partnership with the Ministry of Education and the United Nations Information Center. And it's so well done. I mean, the United Nations put on a fabulous experience for the youth here. And it's so realistic as well. I was quite impressed the first time I saw it, how realistic it actually was and how realistic the United Nations made it. And so, and you can see the difference. After 2 days, you can see the difference in the youth, in their maturity, in how seriously they take it. And it's really, that's the reason why we do it, really. You can see how people develop. You can see their understanding grow. And it's an amazing thing.
Now, there were 20 different schools and close to 100 students discussing a health topic on pandemics and chronic diseases. What was the outcome of the 2-day deliberations? As you said, sometimes it can be deadly boring, but there's always value that comes out.
Indeed. And actually, the topic chosen for discussion varies every year, obviously, but they're always highly topical issues. Last year, I think we struggled to make a resolution because the idea is that after 2 days of discussion where everybody's put their points forward, they've negotiated, they've listened to each other, the idea is that the Assembly can come up with a resolution, so something they will agree on. This year was actually brilliant. It surpassed expectations because they came up with 3 resolutions which they agreed on. Last year we struggled to achieve a resolution, which also is fine because that's also realistic. We don't always agree on things in the United Nations. So to have 3 resolutions is a new milestone and sets the bar higher. And we were also very pleased this year to have a school from the Asire refugee camp, which again broadens the diversity of the young learners who were involved. So it's something that actually it's not just the British High Commission gets deep satisfaction out of. I mean, the United Nations and the Ministry of Education and the learners themselves all have a fabulous time.
As a seasoned diplomat who has worked in postings across the world, and what would your message be to young people listening today who aspire to use platforms much like the Model UN to learn and eventually follow in your footsteps?
Sure. Well, you know, this exercise is important just for debate, and you use debate all the time in your daily life. And so that's an essential skill that any young learner should be proud to develop. In diplomacy, the ability to debate becomes even more important. You could be dealing with somebody who has very opposite views to you, but you have to understand them, you have to listen to them, you have to respect them. You may not agree with them, but it's about listening, it's about respect, it's about living together. We all live on this planet together, but also in very different circumstances. So, you know, I think it's a very realistic opportunity, and the learners, you know, there's a way of debating in Namibia that may be different to how debates are run in Cuba or in Latin America or in Far East. And so this gives them an experience of how different nations on different continents need to work together. You know, we know as British diplomats, we know that the experience, our experience in the United Nations is very different to just about any other country. And we need to ensure that we listen to the views of other countries on everything, because understanding where other countries are coming from, understanding their policies, is the only way in which we can collectively make progress on whatever issue it is, whether it's health, whether it's conflict, whether it's famine, all of those sort of issues. We can only achieve progress by listening to each other, understanding each other's views, and expressing our own.
And in terms of students of the past that were part of the program, what are some of the feedback that you've received from students and teachers alike after the Model UN?
Well, they've all been impressed, and you know, my own impression from having attended some of the last 3 conferences we've had here, you know, it's interesting that when you first see all the students in the hall, they're all nervous, they're all shy, they've got no idea. They've done a lot of homework and prep, but suddenly they're in the hot seat and they're representing a country, not their own country, but a country of the United Nations. And there's a sort of tension and a nervousness in the air because nobody wants to make a fool of themselves, and we've all been there as learners. You don't want to say something wrong. You don't want to make a fool of yourself. And so there's this huge nervousness at the beginning of the Model UN. And then the following day you go back, it's like a different room. People they're really into it, they don't want it to end, they're really enjoying the experience, they've become confident speakers, public speakers, which isn't easy for a lot of learners to speak in front of 100 other kids. And you can see that maturity, and you can see that excitement that's been generated because they've all just pulled together, and they've realised that actually it's a new skill they've acquired to be able to make their points, how to respond, how to listen, how to debate. So, you know, it's brilliant to see that transition.
This year has been a bit unique in that there's a new award this year, the Best New School. And there's a school that walked away with the prize this time around. What stood out about these particular students?
Well, yes, there is a new, and the best new school obviously goes to one that hasn't participated before. But there are also awards for the best delegation, the best delegate, the best speaker, and so, you know, each year it's a way of recognising how far the learners have come just in 48 hours. So best new school, and I think this is sort of self-generating. You know, next year there'll be a few more new schools, and they always learn from what they've seen or heard about from the last couple of years. So it obviously generates an element of competition, but it's not about competition between schools. It's about all learners coming out of this with more maturity, with more experience, with more knowledge, and they all get a certificate for participating, and that's the level playing field that we aim for. But obviously it encourages schools and learners if we highlight somebody who we think has made really good progress during that Model UN.
And for any students listening now that want to take part and want to, you know, become more informed and have a future, potential future in this field, what advice would you give them?
Go for it. I mean, honestly, you know, we've all been there as learners where you're nervous, where, you know, especially public speaking. Now, public speaking can be hard, but when you're in the United Nations and potentially the entire world is listening to you, that is nerve-wracking. You know, I've been there. I've been in front of a microphone where I'm thinking, gosh, am I going to get my words right? Am I going to say this properly, or anything like that? It comes with experience, it comes with practice, and it builds confidence. But it builds confidence for your daily life anyway. Diplomacy and international diplomacy is a fabulous career. You know, this is my 9th posting. I've been in the diplomatic service for over 40 years in the UK. And there's still so much to learn. You know, I've spent 25 years of my life in Africa, but I still feel I've only scratched the surface. And you can learn throughout your life. And I've visited maybe 70 different countries in the world. I've lived in them or worked in them or visited them. But, you know, there are so many more. There's so much to see, and international diplomacy quite often allows you to visit places you would never visit as a tourist, or to get involved in issues that you would never get involved in other careers. So it's a fabulous career. Go for it. Build your confidence, build your skills. And, you know, everybody in life makes mistakes, everybody gets things wrong to begin with, but, you know, if you want to see the world, if you want to understand more about your global environment and issues like climate change and global health care, and especially on the African continent where such issues are so important, international diplomacy is a fabulous career choice.
And if you're a student, there's your advice. Go for it. Lots to learn. Mistakes will be made, but you will learn and it will overcome. And it's all about the globalized world we live in now. There's a lot of value in this field. So, Your Excellency, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us.
That's an absolute pleasure.
And we are looking forward to the 12th edition, and bigger, better, and more students to just walk away with gems and knowledge. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.